now, for the first time this season, we are doing our look ahead towards this weekend of NFL football, our week one predictions for Sunday and our one game on Monday. So first up, we got Houston and Jacksonville. I am taking Houston. I'm not super confident in that pick. Deshaun Watson is not playing, so they have Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. The team is just obviously not very good, but neither is Jacksonville, being that they got the number one pick last year. They did improve, but I just feel like Houston is an older team, and I think they'll just be able to get the job done behind Tyrod Taylor being at least decently efficient.
Yeah, first I'd like to say it's great to finally get to talk in-depth NFL football on here. We've been waiting for this. And you get the rare clash between Terrence and I. I will be in this game. I kind of, for like the same reason that you mentioned, I think as a younger, that there's just more of a chance for Jacksonville to surprise me. I feel like Houston is kind of more, like I'm more confident in them not performing very well. Though Tyrod Taylor is a good quarterback when he tries. It could go either way. This is one of the closer toss-ups of the week between two, I guess, evenly matched teams, though not in that. But I think kind of the young fire of the Jaguars could maybe push them over to get a win. And then we move to the Chargers versus the Washington football team. And now this one was another tough one to pick. You got an offensive, like, kind of powerhouse in the Chargers against a defensive juggernaut. And the football team, I will be taking the Chargers. I think the football team is gritty. They are a strong defensive team. Although I did just learn today, probably lost Austin Eckler for this first game. I think that Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen and what little strength they have left could maybe overpower the football. Isn't super great, or at least they weren't last year, but I could end up being completely wrong.
Yeah, so I'm going to deviate there. I'm going to pick Washington. I just feel like kind of the same thing I said earlier with Houston. The football team, they seem like a more veteran team. They got Ron Rivera as their coach. Curtis Samuel will definitely improve that offense. So their offense is definitely getting better. They're going to have to figure out the quarterback situation for the future. Like, I don't know if Taylor Heineke is going to be that guy. Fitzmagic, obviously, he's not the future of the franchise, of course. So they'll have to figure that out. But I think they can be a decent team this year, and I think they can pull out the win versus LA. And since you mentioned that Austin Eckler is probably going to be out, that's definitely going to be a negative for the Chargers. So I'm sticking with the pick of Washington, and we'll see how that turns out. Now, on to Seattle versus the Colts. We are both picking Seattle in this game. For me, it's simple. Seattle is just a better team. I'm not really sure whether or not Carson Wentz is coming back. It's looking like he may be there week one, but I don't think it'll really it'll make a difference in score. But in result, I don't think it'll make a difference. I got Seattle winning this one.
But yeah, Seattle's a better team in almost every aspect, and Carson was coming back or not doesn't really change much. Even if he would get like the almost MVP Carson Wentz, I really don't think that's. So they should take this one pretty easily. This was an easy no-brainer. Then we move to the Panthers versus the Jets, the Sam Darnold revenge game immediately. Terrence and I will both be taking our Panthers in this game. I think this one is kind of a no-brainer. The Jets really, we'll get to see his debut, but there's really not much about the Jets that I think scares any team in the league. And the Panthers have a pretty strong defense with a really good offense as well. Not as strong as some offenses like the Buccaneers or anything, but it's a really, really well productive offense and a pretty strong defense that I think will easily stop the Jets.
Yeah, so I don't see the Jets putting up a whole lot of points against us. Not that our defense is that good, but the Jets aren't that good yet either. Zach Wilson, he'll probably look good in his debut. I think he's kind of the X factor out of all those guys, the top 5 quarterbacks that were drafted. He may be very good down the line, but he ain't going to be that good against Carolina. I think with our offense, Christian McCaffrey is going to be back full strength. We're obviously going to be feeding him the ball a whole lot. I don't see a scenario where the Jets beats us. If they do, I'm gonna be very disappointed, but I doubt it's gonna happen. So we both got Carolina there. Another game where we agree, Minnesota versus the Bengals. Joe Burrow is going to be making his return. Doesn't really matter though. I think Minnesota is going to beat them. They're just far and away the better football team. And, Cincinnati, I don't think they'll be that good this season. They'll be better than last year, of course, with Joe Burrow being back and the improvements they made, but they're not going to beat Minnesota on Sunday.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of unnecessary Kirk Cousins slander. He's a really good quarterback most of the time. He kind of gets some flack for some of his failures that he has had, and I get it. But overall, the Kirk Cousins led offense is better than the Joe Burrow offense. And I mean, Joe Burrow wasn't able to show much at the NFL level last year about how he'll do against a Minnesota defense that's kind of it's good, but it's not like an amazing defense. But I think the offense of Minnesota should overpower Cincinnati, and there's not much to worry about there. Now we move to Arizona versus Tennessee, which is another game where we will both be taking Tennessee. I think these are two good teams. It's a really good matchup, and this is a hard one to choose between. But I take Tennessee because they've got just a little bit of an edge in offensive power. I know Arizona has a pretty good defense, but I mean, Derrick Henry and I mean Ryan Tannehill's a good quarterback. I don't really see why Tennessee should drop this not in an embarrassing way. I think if they lose, it would have to be close. So, but I think they'll persevere and take the win here.
Yeah, for me, I think the key is just simple. Derrick Henry. You get we saw him get slowed down by Baltimore in the playoffs, but over the past 2 years, we haven't really seen anybody slow down Derrick Henry consistently at all. I mean, he ran for 2,000 yards last year in the regular season. Offensive player of the year, of course. So I think that's just the main thing for me. If they can't stop Derrick Henry, then Tennessee's going to win. And having Julio there, you have to now worry about Julio. Obviously, AJ Brown's good, but he ain't Julio, right? So having to worry about Julio in the passing game, Ryan Tannehill has been getting better ever since he got to Tennessee. And then you still have Derrick Henry as your main threat. Arizona's good, and they could possibly make the playoffs. I'd say probably a wild card team, but I just feel like Derrick Henry's going to be too much for them. So Tennessee will get the win there. Now, moving on to a game where I don't think it'll be as close. San Francisco against the Detroit Lions. Of course, Detroit Lions, they now have Jared Goff as their QB. And San Francisco, they have Jimmy G. But, Trey Lance may come in at some point and do something. We don't know. But regardless of who the quarterback is for San Francisco, I have them winning this one.
Yeah, I mean, I ain't worried about Jared Goff and the Lions and this one at all. Not to slander. That offense is just there's no way it gets through the San Francisco defense, and San Francisco has enough offensive power to hold off the Lions and still put a good amount of points on the board. This one was a no-brainer. The Lions have a new quarterback and some other few pieces that they picked up in the draft that are but they are the Lions, and I don't expect much. Then we move to a game that could be kind of good, depending on how both teams end up playing, is Pittsburgh versus Buffalo, in which Terrence and I will both be taking Buffalo in this one. We know they've got that powerhouse combo of Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and I really think that's just about all you need. They are an impressive team when they play at max strength, and I don't see why they won't be at max strength.
Yeah, so I mean, after that AFC title game appearance last year for Buffalo, they've definitely ascended. After a long time of being in the bottom of the AFC, Josh Allen, possible MVP winner this year. We have to see. Stephon Diggs is thriving. Not to discount Pittsburgh, but I just don't trust them. Pittsburgh, kind of like the Cowboys, it seems like they just find a way to screw something up. I mean, only Pittsburgh could start 11-0 last year and then lose out and then get destroyed against Cleveland in that first playoff game. I just don't trust them. Pittsburgh could very well win this game, and if you asked me this like last year, I would have picked Pittsburgh, but I can't trust Pittsburgh at this point, so we're going with the Bills. Now moving on to Atlanta versus Philly. This one kind of a hard one for me to pick, but I'm taking Atlanta just because I feel like their offense will be a little too much for Philly. I think Jalen Hurts will start to play well this season, but Atlanta does have the better offense. Calvin Ridley is now your true number one receiver, and you also see the debut of Kyle Pitts in this game. So I got Atlanta in this one.
Yeah, this was a game that I thought about for a little bit, and it was a little hard to decide on. I mean, it's a good matchup for the most part, but Atlanta's offensive firepower will probably overpower Philadelphia. I mean, we saw games last year where like when they beat the Saints, that when they really put their all into it, they can take games that they maybe shouldn't take. But I think the Kyle Pitts debut and the debut of Calvin Ridley as the real number one guy is going to end up sinking the Philadelphia ship here. Then we moved to Cleveland versus Kansas City, and I know Kansas City is like the football the team right now, but I actually thought this was a little tough to pick. Cleveland hasn't been great in their opening games, but they are a pretty good team, and they have some surprising outcomes every now and then. However, I'm taking the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. There's not much. You could have one of the best defenses, and you still have to have like a great day to be able to stop this piling on top of you. So I think the Chiefs will look fine in their opener, and I think the Browns will look good. I just don't think they'll come out with the win.
Yeah, this was a tough one to pick. I would not say like 100% that the Chiefs would win this game. If you asked me to bet on it, I think Cleveland could possibly steal it, but I will pick the Chiefs to win. I think they're just going to be a little too much for Cleveland. Now to say that this game could like go to overtime, could go to the last play or something like that, it very well could, because it was not even a whole year ago they played in the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes went down, of course, and Cleveland almost won that game and knocked Kansas City out of there. And they would have been playing Buffalo in the title game. But with that being said, like you said, I just think that Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes will be too much for Cleveland. Kansas City will get the win. Now for Green Bay versus New Orleans, we are both picking Green Bay. For me, it's just that Green Bay is the better team overall. New Orleans has definitely taken a bit of a hit after last season. Michael Thomas is not going to be there. I don't even know if Michael Thomas really wants to be in New Orleans anymore. Alvin Kamara will definitely have a good game, but I think Green Bay shouldn't be too much for him. Aaron Rodgers is definitely coming back with a vengeance this year after all the 1-4 in NFC Championship game jokes over this offseason. So Green Bay is going to win this one and spoil Jameis Winston's debut game.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I think, I was excited to see that Jameis Winston's the starter. I actually really do like him as a player. And after his surgery now, I think he'll be really good. But this is just an unfortunate opening for them. They've taken a big offensive hit in losing Michael Thomas. I mean, Alvin Kamara is going to produce. Jameis Winston should do just fine. But, it's a hit. Green Bay is going to come back on fire as Aaron Rodgers is probably very angry and is going to be wanting to come back and put some things to rest throughout the season. And the first thing he's going to be putting to rest will probably be the New Orleans Saints. So, unfortunate debut for Jameis. I hope to see him do decent. I obviously, as a Panthers fan, do not want his team do, amazing. But I do like Jameis, and I hope him the best. But the best will not be coming in week 1. And now, moving to Denver and the Giants. This one was a little tough for me to decide on, but we both end up taking the Denver Broncos in this. And I think what it came down to me for was just analyzing, the offensive power of both teams. And I think Teddy Bridgewater throwing to people like Jerry Jeudy or Noah Fant, they should do enough to be able to stop the Giants. And the Giants haven't been super impressive. I mean, don't get me wrong. They have their games where they're like, oh, there's actually good players in that team. But I'm not really thinking that that's going to happen against this Broncos team week 1.
Yeah, for me, it's just that I trust the Broncos just a little bit more than the Giants. This one definitely could go either way, but I just think the safe pick is Denver. Teddy Bridgewater, what a ride for him in his career. I mean, starting off good in Minnesota, and you have that horrible injury. End up in New Orleans, you play well. While Drew Brees is out, and then come to Carolina, obviously not as good. We'll see how he does in Denver. He beat out Drew Lock, so you know Teddy will probably not win the game like outright, but he definitely will probably not cause you to lose the game. So as long as he plays decently, I think Denver can get the win against New York. Now for New England versus Miami, I am taking New England, and it's about trust. I understand that Mac Jones is debuting. It's going to be his first real game in the NFL against Miami and Tua. Tua obviously played like 10 games last year, so he has a little bit more experience. But New England made a lot of changes in the offseason. They got Hunter Henry as their top tight end, so that's probably going to be a big deal. We assumed that Cam was going to be the starter. That didn't happen. But regardless, I think New England will probably edge out Miami in this one.
Yeah, so we're back to the rare rare clash of the two of us. I'm gonna take Miami in this game, and it really comes down to, I guess, a lack of trust for me in Mac Jones. As far as that New England offense, I do see that New England has made some good changes. They are a pretty good team, but these are not the Dolphins of a few years ago either. This is two pretty decent teams going up against each other, and I think the Tua offense with Mike Gesicki and Miles Gaskin, and who's their primary? I have his name's on the tip of my tongue. Devontae Parker is their wide receiver. I think they'll do pretty good. And the Dolphins' defense is actually a really strong defense. Now I do think New England has a chance to. I don't think it's going to be a Miami blowout. I think this could be one of the more fun games to watch. Just two pretty, I wouldn't say pretty young, but two really fun cores to see go against each other. And I'm just going to have to go with the Dolphins on this. And then we go to the Bears and the Rams. We are back to being on the same side, as we will both be taking the Rams in this one. The Rams are just a better team than the Bears. I think Andy Dalton will be starting, and honestly, that's not a great thing for the Bears in my opinion. So I'm not really seeing many scenarios where the Bears take this game. Not that they're a terrible team. It's just I don't think they stack up to the Rams offensively or defensively.
Yeah, I mean, we both have the Rams here. For me, the Rams are just a way better team overall. I mean, you have great players on defense. You obviously have Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. Then on offense, you have good players as well. New quarterback, Matthew Stafford. I'm not a subscriber to that Matthew Stafford is, a top 5 player, a top 5 quarterback at least. But I definitely think he'll be a big upgrade over Jared Goff. And that might be what the Rams need to get them back to the Super Bowl and possibly win this time. But for week 1, I will be taking them over Chicago. And in our last game, we have the Ravens going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. We are both picking Baltimore, and simply because Baltimore's better. They've been good ever since Lamar Jackson came in. I don't see anything that should change that. Lamar Jackson slander has to stop this season. I hope Lamar goes off this season and in this game. I got Baltimore over the Raiders.
I am a huge Lamar Jackson fan. I, of course, would love to see my Panthers win the Super Bowl, but I love seeing him succeed. And I really don't like Lamar Jackson slander either. So I really hope he goes off in this game. Though I won't count the Las Vegas Raiders out. I mean, they will probably find a way to go 8-8 this, or whatever the equivalent would be, because I don't think you can go 8-8 anymore. But I don't think they're going to pick up this first game. It could be a fun game. I mean, there's a good offensive power in the Raiders, but Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are just a stronger team, and they should come out probably with a little more fire under them. And I would also argue that the Raiders coach, the Las Vegas' coach, I can't think of his name. I don't know why I'm blanking.
Jon Gruden.
Yeah, Jon Gruden. He might be in for a rough ride this season if the Raiders do not produce well.
Yeah, I mean they gave them all that money, but I mean, shoot, you keep turning in average seasons every year, and they might want to get you up out of there. So we'll have to see about that.
Yeah, but these could be two future AFC playoff teams. It just depends on if the Raiders can actually, uh, you know, capitalize on the talent that they have in their team.